So I started working a little bit on this Beavis and Butthead sculpt. It's going to be kind of a difficult one. One of the things that I regret doing is using this clay, especially for the heads and especially at this size, because the head requires a lot of detail and this clay is kind of soft. It's a great clay, but I think it would have been better just for the couch and then use the harder clay for the head. But so far I put plenty of detail on Beavis and Butthead. The one thing that I have to keep in mind is how much detail I want in the sculpture. So Beavis kind of looks a little bit more cartoonish and Butthead is starting to look a little bit more realistic because I'm putting a lot more detail. But the actual cartoons don't have a lot of detail. They're very plain. So one of the things is there's very hardly any reference for this cartoon character when it comes to realism. So you kind of are making things up. And as you can see, the expressions are a little bit off. And even like when I'm doing Butthead's head, what I do is like I just take it out and I just work on it and then I put it back. So I put it on a string so I can easily remove it. Same thing with Beavis. Now when it comes to casting this, because it's plasticine, I need to make sure that I remove certain parts. And it's kind of complex. So one thing I could do is just mold the couch on my own. And if I mold it on my own, it's easy. But I would have to remove them. But then there's like negative shapes in between the arms that would create a very difficult cast. And there's negative shapes in between or behind the feet. So one of the things I could potentially do, especially for like, or let's take Butthead as an example, you can cut the foot here, and then you can cut probably like the arm here and here. Just remove this and this, and then you would have to cast it all individually, separately, which creates kind of a difficult thing. And I'm not sure I want to go through that entire ordeal because that's a lot of casting. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then maybe the head would be an extra one. The head, for example, you could put it in a cup and mold it separately, same thing. So you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 castings just for this. If you have an idea how to mold this without doing 10 individual castings, that would be great. But I am not quite sure. Maybe this will be like a stop motion animation sculpture. And one thing I was thinking is changing Beavis's position. Maybe he has his hand up and he's kind of doing like a rocking sort of a position. I'm not sure. I don't have quite the likeness. I think his head is a little bit too, I think it might be the nose. I don't know. So I'm going to have to figure this out. And his head is getting a little bit big. Also, there's like a lot of minute details around the shirt and including the AC/DC. AC/DC. I usually write it down and then there's Metallica here. And I'm not sure if I'll do that or afterwards paint it on. But I kind of want to do a little bit of a raised edge. I don't know yet. So if you guys have any suggestions, post up in the comments below. But I did work on it quite a bit. So Beavis or Butthead's eyes are very small in comparison. So, and when you're doing this in 3D, it's a lot harder to kind of figure out how to do it. It's difficult because his eyes are, and I kind of want him to be looking at Beavis, so it's kind of be more on the side like that. It's a little bit hard to tell from this, but if I make it a little bit bigger, it might be easier to tell. And I'm trying to keep it cartoony, but not too cartoony. I want to have like just some detail. So, I don't know. It's kind of getting there, except it's very difficult to do. To show you, this was a preliminary of a Beavis head, but this is a different clay, and it's Roma Plasticina. This is a clay I really wish I used for the heads. You can see it's starting to take some shape, but I did not sculpt it on there, and I didn't put a lot of detail into it. I just wanted to kind of show you guys because this is a clay that's better suited for this type of sculpture because it is harder. It's I think it's got a little bit more wax, so you can do details, you can like mold around. This is very soft. I mean, this is soft clay, so I don't know. I just have a hard time doing small details in this. If you guys recall, I used this sort of clay for that cardinal sculpture, and that worked out really well because it was soft and it almost resembles a wet terracotta. Terracotta is just basically water-based clay. So some of the tools I'm using are some of the smaller tools that I have. I built some of these tools just using like pipes and strings, and because this has some expense, it's like a copper pipe, I bought some wooden rods, and this was not a good idea, but they do work pretty well because I can just get into the small shapes, and it's a flexible wire, so it's extremely easy to get around. But so far, the tool that I like using is this. It's basically like a dental tool, and it's flat on one side and kind of sharp and flat on the other. And the reason I like it is I can create things that are flat, and I tend to like when sculptures look flat, when they look geometric. So this works out really well. When I'm working big in a large sculpture, I do like having a big scraper, like a paint scraper, to do portraits because I like to keep the edges really level. One of the things that I find a lot of people do is they'll try to, like, if the forehead, there's a lot of like roundness to it, they'll create it too round and not look for the geometric shapes in there. But everything that you look for in the human body, including cartoons, there's a lot of geometry, and a lot of times it's flatter than what people think, so it's not as round. But of course, it's a little bit difficult to figure out a good midway for something like this, something that's cartoony. So Butthead's got braces, and braces are, I'm not even sure how I'm going to do them, but I think even if I just draw it, because his head or his mouth is very open, and he's got a very different face than Beavis. Beavis has got like almost a maniacal smile, and his teeth kind of come out a little bit more. He actually kind of looks like Joker right here, so I need to figure out a way to create a better Beavis. You know, I'm just like freehanding this, so, and of course I think Butthead's head, but I think the nose might be a little bit too big. I'm going to bring up the nostrils just a little bit. Even if I exaggerate the nostril, it's a better idea to exaggerate than make it too similar. I think it gets a better likeness if you exaggerate. But I have quite a bit of work to do, especially in Butthead and Beavis, but this is just the beginning. I think it'll look kind of a cool sculpture once I'm done with it. So this tool is good for removing a lot of the unwanted lumpiness to the clay here. So just kind of go around remove all of this. And it is kind of nice once in a while to do a sculpture like this, because I've been doing so many like figurative sculpts and things that are a little bit more realistic. So it's kind of cool to do something like this. And the reason I did it is I'm a fan of this cartoon. I also think it would look really cool in my coffee table or something. It's something that I don't think I'll ever be able to sell, but it'll be kind of cool. I'll give it to friends and family. Actually, my family wouldn't even like this. I think they're pretty grossed out with these two guys, but how cool would this be that you would have, maybe you're watching TV, you're watching Netflix, and you put this on top of your desk or coffee table, and they can watch TV with you. That was my idea, is that this would be kind of a companion for people that like the show in the past. That's the good thing about Beavis, you know, like, because I put it on a little stick, I can take it out and work on it. I can just take it in a different location, work on it. It's so much easier taking your sculpture and working on it with your hand. Just move it around and don't neglect the underside. So this, in a way, I kind of like the idea of the oil-based clay just for this. And then if I want to do detail, I grab onto this, I take it, and I just kind of position it and move this stuff around. So this is going to take me some time though, but